Hey beauties, welcome back to Real Girl Talk Podcast Radio. I am your host, Sherry Ricard. I'm a medical professional, business leader, author, speaker, and adversity recovery expert, bringing you fascinating guests, business, beauty, and lifestyle tips to help you create a beautiful life. And always committed to keeping it real. Now let's dive in. Good morning, beauties. Thank you for joining me. This is Real Girl Talk Podcast Radio, and I'm your host, Sherry. I appreciate you tuning in today, and I am coming at you live from Corpus Christi, Texas. And the subject today is going to be a juicy one, folks, so buckle up. I'm going to talk to you about being self-absorbed. Now, I'm not targeting you, but we may be targeting somebody that you know. So we all want to think of ourselves, though, as good people. But in fact, it's not all people are created equal, right? Not everyone's character traits are equal. Just as some are born with different eye color, we all have different personalities, experiences, and circumstances that have molded us to what we are today. But before we get into all the nitty-gritty of it all, let me preface this episode by saying there is a difference between a chronic versus acute self-absorbed narcissistic type behavior. So at times we can all be a little self-absorbed. It's, on occasion we have that all about me moments, but we're not talking about that today. I am only referring to the chronic barrier building individuals who repeat actions over and over. The saying, if someone shows you who they are, believe them. Those are the people that I'm referencing today. So I want you to ask yourself, how many times do you spend considering your feelings or the feelings of others? How much time do you actually spend doing that? One classic sign of a self-absorbed person is the inability to put themselves in someone else's shoes. Immediately, I know you guys are thinking about somebody. If you rarely spend time with your friends or colleagues or family members without asking yourself how that person might be feeling, how your actions might be affecting that person, or how you would feel if the same upsetting or difficult situation that particular person is facing were on your plate, then you may be completely self-absorbed, because it is not even referencing or referring to other people as they're telling you about any maybe trials, tribulations, or situations, the challenging situations they have in your life. Okay, so let's think about that. Keeping yourself feeling positive and happy and content is one thing, but if you almost never ask about another person in your presence and how they're feeling, then you may be the problem, not the person that you started thinking about when we started this episode. So if you avoid anyone who isn't making you the topic, then I have already made my point right here. So let's look at some scenarios and see where you might be able to relate, or someone that you're thinking about, you can automatically relate them to. And if it's not you, then I bet you already have somebody in mind. Okay. So have you spent an entire evening with a friend without once caring about how he or she is feeling? Have any of you done that? That's not a good sign. If you have, that's not a good sign at all. Have you offended people a number of times and felt genuinely confused or even surprised when you were called out on your actions? Think about that one. If you routinely upset people with your behaviors or your attitudes and are pretty unaware of how you're making other people feel a lot of the time, then you may be the one that's self-absorbed, not the person that you're thinking about. So do you get confused by the term, put yourself in someone else's shoes? I've got a couple of people coming to mind. Or find it impossible to try to imagine, or don't care to imagine, what it might be like if your coworker, your little sister, grandmother, or your neighbor may be feeling. You don't need to be able to perfectly imagine, okay, the interior of other people's lives. But if you find it completely impossible to consider how they're feeling, then you may have the problem. So in other words, if you can spend time with someone that is upset, but is not telling you that they're upset, but you realize that they are, you feel that energy, you pick up on that, and you're not addressing it, or maybe you want to avoid the topic because then the topic won't be about you, you could be the problem. Okay. Have you even spent a half an hour hanging out with someone on the brink of tears without noticing it because you were too busy talking about yourself or the latest date that you were on or the latest purchase that you had, or how much money you have in your bank account or you want to spend? Oh my gosh, my mind is flooding right now with people that I've seen act this way. It's disheartening, actually. Has someone close to you been maybe passive aggressive and mad at you for something? You didn't even notice that the behavior of someone else is actually pointing right back at you. Maybe your sister, your girlfriend burst into tears right in front of you while you were examining your manicure without you having the faintest idea even why. Because it may be about you. If this is the case, then you may be too busy paying attention to your own feelings to even care about the people around you and what they're feeling or what they're even going through. So let's talk about it. Do you have a hard time telling the difference between a friend who's genuinely happy and a friend who says she's doing fine but who is secretly crying inside? Can you tell the difference? Has someone pointed out to you, hey, you didn't even notice I was upset? You didn't even notice that I was mad? And you're sitting there thinking, wow, I didn't even notice that. Was it because you were too busy thinking about what you have going on, right? You're too busy and self-centered in what you have going on. Or let's flip it. Do you know someone that is that way? So have you, or do you know someone that's found themselves going on and on and on about, maybe you're going on about yourself, or they're going on about themselves while a friend is clearly upset and too distracted to even listen? I mean, think about these things, because this can actually point to someone that has a narcissistic behavior, and definitely the behavior of someone that is self-absorbed. So I want you to think about a person that you spent a lot of time with in the last few months. Okay. Can you name 10 key things about him or her? How about 20? If you're struggling to find something other than she likes my jokes, or she likes giving me a ride to class, or she likes giving me a ride to the store, or she likes hanging out with me, then you may be the problem. See if you're not open to maybe a little constructive criticism right here. Are you starting to feel like, hey, yeah, I do that, but, I'm not self-absorbed. I'm giving you a little constructive criticism right now. People who are self-absorbed tend to think that they are the cat's meow. You know who I'm talking about? And that other people's feedback for them is basically completely irrelevant, and it's not even useful. Now we're into some narcissistic behaviors. Look, of course, it's a good thing to not let other people be negative or get you down, because I talk about that. However, it's another thing not to listen to your own coworkers or your fellow students or friends or family members or someone in your club when they're genuinely trying to help you improve as a person. If it's someone that's giving you constructive criticism because maybe you have a behavior of what I've told you right here, some behaviors that have exhibited some of the definitions that I've given you, and they're trying to tell you that you're that person and you honestly trust that individual, you might want to listen. If at any time someone is giving you constructive criticism like that, like when your friend tells you she wishes you weren't late to social events all the time, or maybe she or he is telling you that you need to start thinking about other people, maybe you need to listen. Okay? Let's shift and look at it another way. All right, so see if you rarely do something, if it won't benefit you personally. If you're the kind of person who will only get to know someone because they can help you get a job, maybe meet a cute guy or up your social status a little bit, then it's because you, my friend, could be self-absorbed. If you tend to only hang out with people who think you're cool and who can give you something, whether it's, an invitation to the latest cool event, work advice, maybe nice presents, then it's because you look at every social interaction only as a way to further your own goals. People who care about others take on friendships for the sake of the friendship itself, not the personal motivation of it. We call these folks opportunist. It's not necessarily true that you would take on all these traits and examples that I've given you in order to be self-absorbed. You can be self-absorbed in one area of your life and not in another as well. All right. So you may just be someone who cares only what's in it for you and completely caring in some other area. The point of this episode is for you to look inside yourself or maybe at someone else that you thought might be self-absorbed, a reflection of yourself or a reflection of those around you. I want you to listen in conversation to what others have perceived of you and make a correct judgment on yourself. And improving your core spirituality and mental health with others is completely possible if you want to truly change your behaviors and even recognize if you have a problem. Now, I want to shift over to narcissism because a narcissist is a little different, and you may recognize some of these traits in someone that you know. It could be a spouse, it could be a parent, it could be a friend, a sibling, it could be anyone, it could be your boss. I want you to listen to some of these narcissistic traits and see if you can't recognize those. And I'll give you a little tip at the end on how to help yourself deal with these type of people, because you can't change other people, right? You can only change yourself and how you deal with those people. But the number one way to always be ahead of a narcissist or someone that is self-absorbed is to make sure that you can predict their every move. Someone that is predictable is a lot easier to handle than getting blindsided by a narcissist or someone that's self-absorbed. So the first thing you need to know is a narcissist weakness. Their number one weakness is their extreme hatred of being embarrassed. They can't stand that. There's nothing worse for them than having someone point out even the slightest fault. Ironically, though, they have no problem openly doing this to others. This method of casting shame allows them to feel superior while also minimizing any impact the other person might have. It also serves as a way of discounting any future comments that the person uses to embarrass the narcissist. You follow me? So basically, they are beating the other person to the first punch. In order for you to avoid that first punch, remember, a person needs to understand what it looks like. You have to understand that this person is an actual narcissist. Again, that goes to being able to predict their behavior. There's 11 ways, okay? 11 ways a narcissist will use shame in order to control other people. And this can be anybody, guys, okay? Historical revisionism. What the heck is that? A narcissist will retell another person's story, adding their own flair of additional shame. Wow, I bet you right now people are going, I knew it, I knew they were a narcissist. This can be done in front of others or even privately. It usually happens after the other person has achieved maybe some level of accomplishment. The narcissist will state that they are only trying to keep that person humble, but in reality, they're trying to humiliate you. Number 2, confidence breaking. A narcissist loves to gather information about a person and store it away for later, not use, but abuse. They use their charm to entice a person to share confidential details, especially ones that cause the other person embarrassment. Watch out, guys. If you embarrass a narcissist, they're coming for you. You'll have a target. Once they gather, the narcissist uses that information and that story to keep that person in check and constantly worried about when the information will come out. That's not cool. Number 3, exaggerating faults, my friends. No one is perfect except for the narcissist. Remember that. The narcissist is very good at identifying the faults of others and even better at passively, aggressively commenting on them. Imagine that. This is a way of putting the other person in their place because that's what a narcissist likes to do. When they are confronted, they often will say, I was only joking, or gosh, you can't take a joke. I was just kidding. Are you thinking of somebody now? Number 4, the victim card. A narcissist, it's so talented. Listen, talented at really exacerbating others and using their reaction as justification for becoming the real victim. Regardless of how hard the narcissist incites that other person, the anger reaction to them provoking you is viewed as shameful. So the other person, who usually feels bad by the reaction, allows the narcissist to play the victim card and thereby surrenders control to the narcissist. So don't allow the narcissist to play the victim card. That's one way of stopping everything in its tracks. Number 5, blaming shift. They are notorious for this. Whenever something goes wrong, the narcissist will automatically shift all the shame to the other person. The other person, who may have done one thing wrong, allows the narcissist then to dump more than their fair of shame and responsibility on themselves. And here's another one, number 6. Listen to this. Baby talk. They will baby talk you. In any narcissist relationship, okay, the narcissist wants to be seen as the adult and the other person as the child or the inferior one. So this belittlement is done in several condescending ways, such as literally talking down to you, calling the other person immature, or saying the other person needs to grow up. Have you heard that from someone? Is that the narcissist is more mature and has developed beyond the level of the other person. Regardless of your stature, regardless of your education, regardless of your intelligent level, they will continue to make themselves at a higher, superior level by putting you down. That's what a narcissist does. Number 7, religious guilt. So it really doesn't matter what the religion or the narcissist of the other person is. In every religion, there's a set of standards and expectations, right? So the narcissist will use the other person's religious beliefs to guilt them into acting a certain way. They may even go as far as saying, well, God told me you need to blank. God told me to tell you blank. Number 8, offensive play. So the narcissist will use personal attacks to put the other person on the defense. The other person will get so caught up in defending their name or character, or they will miss the next attack, right? They're so busy defending themselves. This is what the narcissists do. They look on how defensive you actually are. And of course you're being defensive, right? Because you're trying to save your reputation maybe, or you're trying to save face and say, hey, look, that didn't happen. I didn't mean it like that. So you're defending yourself, and they look how defensive you are. You must have done something wrong, the narcissist will say. This is a checkmate position for them because the other person has nowhere to go after that, because you are being defensive. Number 9 of 11, talking above. So instead of talking down, like baby talk we talked about before, the narcissist will talk over the other person's knowledge level. Okay? Even if the other person is more intelligent, the narcissist will still talk in circles with the air of authority about them to force the other person into an inferior position. They'll use a sophisticated vocabulary, perhaps, or maybe a physical posturing. Maybe they'll stand a little taller and put their shoulders back. Maybe they'll look down at the other person and embellish on details of disgust to the real point of just shaming you or the other person. 10, comparing accomplishments. Oh boy. It doesn't matter what the other person has accomplished. A narcissist did it first, did it better, and more efficiently. That's just the way it is. So by outperforming another person, the narcissist can then minimize the other person's accomplishments in comparison to their own. This produces a I can never be good enough feeling in you or the other person. And last but not least is first impression. So a narcissist is very aware of how they look and appear to other people. Frequently, they are dressed in designer clothing with, perfect, immaculate grooming. Not a hair is even out of place. This is not just for the narcissist, rather than also a perfectionist appearance. Okay, so they use this to demean others. Comments like, they don't take care of themselves, or it doesn't take a lot of effort to look better. These are kind of typical comments that you will get out of a narcissist who judges other people constantly on a daily basis because they are superior, right, to you or whoever they're trying to be superior to. So here's the thing, guys. This is the tip that I want to give you. When a person can see the punch coming, that goes back to predicting the narcissist behavior, it's easier to dodge the punch. So I want you to resist the temptation to attack first with a narcissist because they will only intensify their reaction. Instead, what I want you to do is deflect and distract to avoid becoming their target because they're always looking for a target. And if you live with this individual, girlfriend, I don't know what to say to you because it's very, very difficult to change a narcissist behavior. It's kind of an embedded trait. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I'm saying it's very, very difficult. So if you are in a relationship or you work for someone that is a narcissist, the first line of defense is being able to predict their behavior so you can, like I said, deflect and distract and avoid becoming their target. I hope this helps you today, guys. And until next week, I want you to keep your faith in God. You know what? Step out of your comfort zone. Try something that you've never tried before. Make yourself happy. No one can make you happy but you. If someone makes you happy, in addition to you making yourself happy, it's an added bonus. And until next week, I'll be praying for you.
The loss of a loved one is a nearly universal emotional crisis. Unprocessed grief and painful feelings can be buried, leaving you to feel numb. But there is hope. Certified grief counselor, RN, and author Sherry Ricard shares her story of how to cope in her first book, Wake Up Call, A Mother's Grief Journey, after the loss of her 17-year-old son. This book, along with Sherry's other books, are available on Amazon as well as on SherryRicard.com.